We are in 2020. Humans have been the same more or less emotionally and physically since our beginning, which is about 200,000 years ago. We subjectively have not changed. We still have the same emotions and the same fears, which, according to evolution, if you believe in evolution, have been developed by evolution. They've come through a natural selection form. What's happening today is that as we go into the Industrial Revolution, the fourth Industrial Revolution, the technology is taking us so far away from our original roots, which is nature. Technology is becoming the new nature, and technology has its own rules, its own innovations, and its own lifestyles. And humans haven't changed to adapt to those new lifestyles. And what happens is that the people therefore have to take drugs in order to help them adapt. They have to go to therapy to help them adapt within the new societies. They don't have the energies of the plants and nature in order to harmonize them. And what we're going to see in the future, if it's not genetic modification for humans to help humans adapt to the new technology, we're going to get cyborgs, we're going to get genetic engineering, we're going to get drugs that help us conform. Already in schools, lots of children have ADD and learning deficit disorders or attention deficit disorders, and they're given Ritalin and other amphetamine drugs from a very early age to help them conform to the society that we have. We don't change the society for the children, we change the children for the new society. And the new society is being developed and prepared for this new industrial revolution, which is the technological age, the quantum physics age. What I want to do is I want to read you a passage from Homo Deus, which is a book written by Harari. He also wrote Sapiens. Why do young men drive recklessly, get involved in violent arguments and hack confidential internet sites? Because they are following ancient genetic decrees that might be useless and even counterproductive today, but that made good evolutionary sense 700 years ago. Which goes back to what I'm saying. What happened in the past, what we did in the past is not valid what we're doing today. In order to look at this better, we need to look how we treat animals. Animals, farming animals is a metaphor for our lives. In effect, it sometimes seems on a spiritual level, we as humans are farms. If you are animals in a farm, the society is the farm, except we're far more complex animals. Therefore, we have a far more complex farming industry. Does an animal actually know it's in a farm? Do we actually know that we're in a farm? As a human being, we're godlike. If we develop farms for animals with a far lesser intelligence, do they understand exactly what we're doing? And if there are other intelligent beings around that have developed our society through various practices, if you're a spiritualist, occult practices, do we know exactly what they're doing? Just because we can't see them doesn't mean that they don't exist. They can be off-world, they can be interdimensional. Exactly the same evolutionary logic shapes the lives of pigs, sows and piglets in human-controlled farms. We farm animals for food. So you might ask, well, why are humans in a farm? Well, the farm would be energy. So if you create a society that has a lot of pain and a lot of negative energy, then that energy can be farmed according to metaphysicians. In order to survive and reproduce in the wild, ancient boars needed to roam vast territories, familiarize themselves with the environment and beware of traps and predators, like us. They further needed to communicate and cooperate to their fellow boars, forming complex groups dominated by old experienced matriarchs, like ourselves. Evolutionary pressures consequently made wild boars, and even more so wild sows, highly intelligent social animals characterized by lively curiosity and strong urges to socialize, play, wander about and explore their surroundings, just like us. After 3.5 months in such conditions, the sows are moved to slightly wider crates where they give birth and nurse their piglets. We go to hospitals. Whereas piglets would naturally suckle for 10 to 20 weeks, in industrial farms they are forcibly weaned within 2 to 4 weeks, separated from their mothers, shipped to be fattened and slaughtered. What we do with children is we ship them off to school. Because we are doing it to our own children, therefore we can't do it in the aggressive way that we do it to other animals. But then if there's a higher intelligence which is creating a farm for us, then the aggressive way that they do it, which means that our children go on to drugs, commit suicide, have depression, is not a very human way to treat our children. The schools should change, not the child. The mother is immediately impregnated again and sent back to the gestation crate to start another cycle. The typical sow would go through 5 to 10 such cycles before being slaughtered herself. In our society, you go to school, you go into the system, you work all your life, and then you pension off at the end. What's happening now in the society is that because the pensions can't afford to pay the new generation, we're getting to a point where we need to decide what we're going to do with the older generation. Already within the COVID, we've seen that we don't particularly treat our older generations particularly well. They fought our wars, they've paid for our schools, they paid for the Medicare, they've created the society, the safe societies for us to live in the West. Why then should we go and throw them out? So when COVID comes along, what we do is we say, okay, you've caught COVID, we're not going to resuscitate you, which is a form of euthanasia and a very large form of disrespect to the older generations. The human farmers take care of everything the sow needs in order to survive and reproduce, just as our society does to us. If you don't have enough money, the social system helps you. If you don't have a house, then the social system can help you as well within some Western governments. The pig is given enough food, vaccinated against diseases, protected against the elements, and artificially inseminated. Well, that all happens to humans as well. From an objective perspective, the sow no longer needs to explore her surroundings, socialise with other pigs, bond with her piglets, or even walk. But from a subjective perspective, the sow still feels very strong urges to do all of these things, and if these urges are not fulfilled, she suffers greatly. Sows locked in gestation crates typically display acute frustration, alternating with extreme despair. Well, we give our children vaccinations and we no longer walk within nature. The Industrial Revolution took off in the 1800s. Before that time, humans are very much involved in the agricultural fields. They're out in nature, they're with plants, they have that freedom, they're walking, they're fit. Then suddenly in the 1990s, 2000s, everyone's in an office block. Even some people in some countries, they leave home before the sun comes out. They are in an office that sees no sunlight, and then they leave when the sun's gone down, and they have vitamin D deficiency. So what we're doing to ourselves is very much like what we do to the pigs. We're not interested in the subjective mammal necessities of socialization and emotions. What we're interested in is that our species is productive to solidify and uphold a system that we live in. Because we're told that we need to have this system, we're told we need to have fashion, we need technology, we need smartphones, we need trainers, we need all of these things, which is called consumerism. And in order to have that consumerism, we have to give up our lives of being in nature, because being in nature doesn't earn money. So there's a necessity for us to earn money. And the way that we're earning money now, although the society has probably been one of the best it's ever been with fewer wars and stuff like that, it still doesn't cater for our subjective needs. This is the basic lesson of evolutionary psychology. A need shaped thousands of generations ago continues to be felt subjectively, even if it is no longer necessary for survival and reproduction in the present. We no longer need to worry about lions or wolves coming to get us. We no longer need to worry about whether we'll have enough food. We've got fertilizer. We don't need to worry about animals attacking us. We've got guns and we've eliminated most of the animals. England used to have bears. There are no longer bears in England. England used to have wolves, I think. There are no longer wolves anymore. So anything that is a threat to humans are taken out. And part of that threat was part of the existential human dilemma, and it created, I would have thought, in us emotions that kept us alive, that kept us agile, that kept us thinking. Now we just need to worry about paedophiles in society instead of tigers. Tragically, the agricultural revolution gave humans the power to ensure the survival and reproduction of domesticated animals while ignoring their subjective needs. In fact, attributing emotions to pigs doesn't humanize them, it mammalizes them. For emotions are not a uniquely human quality, they are common to all mammals. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that as we go into the Industrial Revolution, We also cater for our subjective needs. As transhumanism comes to us, which is the goal, it's to go from a human to a technological human, whether it's through cyborg or it's genetical modification. We need to make some decisions on what we want to do. Is that what we want, or do we want to be human? If we want to carry on being human, then we need to pay attention to what it is that is human, what makes us human, what are the needs that we have that are important. And what we're seeing in schools is dehumanizing children. Through the coronavirus, we're putting them in plastic cages. We're teaching them not how to think, not how to be lateral thinkers, not how to be philosophers, because those people are very dangerous to society. As you know, Socrates was killed because he was inciting youth. So always people that think are always dangerous. But what the society wants are children which go along with the society, and therefore you have to program them from a young age. And the psychological abuse which is happening in school to children is formulating this new type of human. Those children that survive, very good. Those children that don't, commit suicide. Those children that need to change, they'll go towards drugs and they'll go towards therapy. And what those children, as they grow up into adults, will realise is that they don't want their children to do the same thing. And in order to keep up the society that they are now the masters of, they very well might need to change the human genetic code and the human race in order for them to fit in with technology. But ultimately what's going to happen is the technology is going to control them. The problem at the moment isn't humans having technology. The problem is the technology controlling us, the technology telling us what to do. And we're going to have hyper specialized classes, which basically means that AI and technology will tell us what to study, and that will tell us what to think. That will give us information, that will create a perception of life, that will create behavior modifications.